1811 4000। यही कंज्यूमर हेल्पलाइन।
जागो ग्राहक जागो।
Hello and welcome to this very special episode of Beware. Well, we have been getting a whole host of grievances from customers who have been affected by some banking function. It could be credit cards, it could be wrong credit status with a credit bureau, transaction costs, delayed loan disbursals, etc., etc. We get flooded with mails. Today, we requested the Reserve Bank of India to come and talk to us and actually talk to you and convey what the RBI thinks about your concerns, your grievances, and what is it doing to protect your interests. Joining me today, Mr. Jagan Mohan Rao, who's the Chief General Manager at the Reserve Bank of India, to tell us what RBI really is doing. Mr. Rao, thank you very much for joining us today on Beware. While you do a lot of things at RBI to protect the interest of investors and consumers, we on our part try and raise their voice. We get a lot of mails from them every day. A fairly large number of them seem to be pertaining to banking services. Do you believe that people are fairly unhappy with the state of service that they are getting? Is that the perception you have as well?
There are complaints about the deficiencies in the banking service. But if you look at the rate of growth in banking and the number of complaints, the complaints are not very many to say that, entire banking community is unhappy with the customers are unhappy with the banks. There are complaints.
But you're saying the complaints in proportion to the number of customers is not that high. Is that what you're saying?
So, for example, last year we have received 71,000 complaints throughout India, and we have resolved 83% of the complaints within a span of 30 days maximum.
But that could be because in the last 2 or 3 years you have put in a lot of emphasis in consumer redressal. Is that working well even today?
Banking Ombudsman scheme has been in operation for more than 12 years now. And we have also put in place a very good scaffolding system within the commercial banks, where each bank has their own grievance redressal mechanism. At the branch level they have customer service committees, at the regional office level they have customer service committee, even at the board level they're the customer service committees.
Most of the time I find that consumers are writing in saying that they've written to every part of this chain which you're mentioning and nothing has happened.
That is that the customers are not aware where to approach. That could be one reason. We have been asking the banks to display their nodal officer telephone numbers, emails, also ask them to publish in the newspapers to guide the customer where to approach. And the normal procedure is, if the customer makes a complaint to the bank and if he doesn't get a reply within 30 days or doesn't get a satisfactory reply, he can approach any of the banking ombudsman in that area. So the banking ombudsman is an alternate redressal mechanism which has in place for more than 12 years, and they try to talk to the bank and try to resolve the issue amicably.
Can a consumer write directly to RBI, or you don't encourage that?
No, he can write. Even if he writes directly, we'll direct it to the, we'll treat it as a first resort complaint and send it to the bank. See, when we get a complaint from the customer, that is his version.
Sure.
We'd also like to see the version of the bank.
Sure.
That is how we send it to the bank. So within a reasonable time we get the reply, and if there is any need for conciliation meeting, then only we'll hold the conciliatory meeting.
Has the RBI penalized? Or do you think that more often than not, the matter gets resolved and it's forgotten?
No, in the banking ombudsman scheme, there is a provision for awards, there is a provision for a decision, there is a provision for penalty. Award is where the banking ombudsman feels that because of the vexatious nature of the complaint and the complainant is put to unnecessary harassment, and he had to undergo a lot of expenditure. So to that extent, up to 10 lakh rupees award can be given. Not as a penalty, there has to be direct nexus between the expenditure he has incurred for fighting the case.
And has that happened? Have there been many cases?
In many cases.
Where awards have been given?
Awards have been. In case
What
of,
about the penalty side? Where there is a willful lack of ability on the part of a bank to comply with guidelines of RBI. What I find is that your guidelines, the laws, the regulations that you put in place are very explicit, RBI's. It's just the enforcement sometimes of those, or the compliance of those, with sometimes perhaps at a branch level, perhaps at the functional level, at the ground, does not seem to happen.
Let me explain. When we brought the credit cards under the purview of Banking Ombudsman scheme, there was a spate of complaints in 2006 and 7.
Sure, I agree.
And then, for the first time, we introduced an element of penalty for the harassment and mental agony suffered by the customer in respect of the credit cards. Now that penalty has been brought down to 1 lakh rupees. This is in addition to what the customer has to reasonably get from the bank. That is, in case the bank has unnecessarily charged the customer, that will be restored too. But in addition to that, this 1 lakh rupees is purely on account of mental agony and harassment that the customer has suffered. So that is a penalty.
And again, you are saying orders on this have been passed?
Many orders
Banks have been
passed.
given over 1 lakh of a penalty for harassment?
Many awards have been passed by Ombudsman.
Is that one of the reasons why I find credit card complaints having gone down?
Now that could be one reason. The other reason is now we have also brought in transparency in MITC. That is the most important terms and conditions. We have made the banks to explain all the salient features to the customer in the most important terms and conditions, so that the customer ab initio knows what he is getting into. So normally customers do not have time to read very laborious brochures and all other things and all. At least the most important terms and condition that the customer has to read before he takes up the card or before he uses.
We'll take a short break here, but continuing our discussion with Mr. G. Jagan Mohan Rao, Chief General Manager at RBI, after this very short break. You're watching Beware. We are discussing problems related to banking and solutions that can be provided with Mr. G. Jagan Mohan Rao, Chief General Manager at the Reserve Bank of India. One of the areas I find where complaints seem to be rising is home loans. Is it because of the innovations that we are seeing there? You have teaser loans, you have all kinds of different variations of the same product. And I find in the last 1 year, the complaints against home loan providers seems to have gone up dramatically.
Complaints on home loans is on account of two reasons. Number one, the product is complex. Number two, the customer...
Is it complex or has it been made complex? Because fundamentally it was a very simple product.
It has always been made complex. It can be made simple.
It can be made
simple. It is a kind of marketing. It is a kind of marketing. And the other part is, customer is in hurry to clinch the deal when the interest rate are particular day. So let us say interest rates are stable now. So customer would opt for fixed interest rate of interest. When the interest is going down, he might feel that he should have gone for floating rate. Floating rate. That is the dilemma. But then he should read the conditions carefully. Whether the fixed rate he has entered into with a particular bank is fixed to the tenure, or is it subject to revision after 2-3 years. So he can bargain with the bank if he wants. All housing loans are tailor-made to suit particular sections.
So are you saying that all the problems are because customers are not reading agreements properly, or do you think there is scope also for making some simplicity in these agreements or in these products? Are you taking a finer, closer look at these products? You said they are complex.
One is moving towards the simpler home loan product. The second thing is telling the customer upfront what these clauses are. For example, there is a particular clause in home loan agreement. As and when the bank decides.
Sure.
As and when the banks decide.
Which is very open-ended.
This is a very omnibus clause. Nobody. As and when the bank decides whether the bank will make you subject to the floating rate or fixed rate, he is not sure. So that has to be.
Are you telling banks to correct that?
BCSBA code explicitly asks the banks that all the terms and conditions should be made very clear to the customer. If it is not, then it is a violation of the contract.
Are home loan problems covered under Ombudsman as well?
Home loans are covered under the Ombudsman.
Have you seen increasing cases there?
Of late, there is an increase in the number of complaints as far as home loans are concerned. The more complaints relate to the existing customers asking us why the interest rate decrease is not passed on to us.
Sure, the existing ones have a problem because all new rates seem to be offered only to the newer entrants. Do you think that's the right thing?
We have been talking to the IBA and other banks saying that you should make it clear to the customer, and there is also no reason why the benefit cannot be passed on to the existing customer. But the banks have been telling us that they are working out, and some banks have already started passing on the benefit like Axis Bank and other things. So other banks will follow suit.
The other important area where I see a lot of complaints coming in is with regard to disputes with the credit bureaus. While the setting up of the credit bureaus, I think, is a revolutionary thing that has happened, because that creates a system and an environment where a good customer can get the benefit of having, getting the proper facility or better rates. At the same time, there seem to be a lot of disputes emerging where consumers are writing in saying that I took a loan, I've repaid it, but my bank has reported me as a defaulter. And when I went to take the next loan, I was told that I cannot give you the loan because you are a defaulter. I know that RBI stepped in recently and did direct banks that you have to give a reason when you are rejecting somebody's loan, and you must provide the information to the consumer. But this doesn't seem to end. The credit bureau says, I can't help it because the banks are giving me a certain piece of information. I am merely uploading it on my system. And the banks say that we haven't really given this information to CIBIL, and it's CIBIL's problem. How are you addressing that issue?
I agree with you. There are problems. There are complaints on account of customers being reported to CIBIL unnecessarily. And we have found a solution. As you rightly mentioned, CIBIL is a repository of credit records, both good and bad. Right. Banks upload the records every month at monthly intervals. Some banks upload the CIBIL records at quarterly intervals, some at monthly, but mostly monthly. Suppose there is a dispute between the customer and the bank as to whether he has fully paid or not paid and other things and all. So there is a provision in the CIBIL. He can go to CIBIL, make an application and ask for the credit report, or he can go to the bank and make an application and ask his record to be seen for himself in case the bank has not straightened it. Since it is a monthly reporting, today he pays back his loan and tomorrow he goes to his name is still there in the credit record as either the defaulter or as the one who owes some money to that. So in such cases, he can approach the CIBIL or he can approach the particular bank where he has paid and get the certificate and apply to CIBIL. As a one-off system, they will remove the other thing. His name will be there in the CIBIL record, but not as a defaulter. Not as a defaulter. This is one question. We have advised all the banks. This is a development of last 10 days. We have advised the CIBIL. We had discussion with IBA as to how the reporting should be. A customer who is reported to be a defaulter at CIBIL record for no fault of his name will be straight away removed from the CIBIL records.
We'll take a short break here, but continuing our discussion with Mr. G. Jagan Mohan Rao, Chief General Manager at RBI, after this very short break. You're watching Beware. We are discussing problems related to banking and solutions that can be provided with Mr. G. Jagan Mohan Rao, Chief General Manager at the Reserve Bank of India. A few weeks ago, we on Beware had revealed how banks were not even disclosing commission structures to us as consumers. We were posing as consumers. RBI stepped in and has issued guidelines to banks that all commissions must be disclosed. Do you think that, considering that this is another big role which banks play, a lot more needs to be done on this front as far as banks are concerned?
As far as the transparency is concerned, we have been advising the banks to be transparent in all their dealings with the customer. That is either with regard to the commission they charge, interest they charge, or any charge that they charge in the form of legal fees, in the form of processing fees. Everything has to be told to the customer upfront. There is nothing like a secret commission to be charged or anything at all. there is a provision within the banking ombudsman scheme, and BCSB code clearly.
We were actually told, what is your business of asking? It's none of your business to ask. Many banks told us that.
That is a sorry state of affairs if they have done it, but we have advised the banks to put it in their website. So that is a recent development. So banks are still developing that transparency as far as the commission, all this. But as far as commission, interest rates and other, but the standard products is concerned, all banks, we have visited all the website, all banks have been transparent. It is available in their website.
Have you sent your team to various branches?
It is available. We have a system of sending our senior officers in incognito visits across India.
You do mystery shopping?
Yeah. Mystery shopping we do. We call it incognito visits.
Okay.
So across India, this is across India.
Are you satisfied with what you hear?
Yeah, we are satisfied. But the sample may not be large enough to say that all the banks are doing it. There is a room for there is room for improvement, but there is a transparency. And if there is any change in the terms and conditions for any reason as a result of the policy changes, that customer has to be given 30 days notice, and he has to be told, yes, this is an important change in our terms and condition. Be it with regard to interest rate, be it with regard to service charges, whatever it is. So that much of transparency has been brought about. But if there are some areas where there is no transparency, we advise the customers to approach the Reserve Bank of India Customer Service Department. We will try to ensure that there is relevant transparency.
Do you think there is a greater need for more awareness to just tell people that we are here, come to us?
We are doing a lot, but there is a need for doing further. So for example, all our banking ombudsmen have been conducting workshops. They have also been conducting campaigns in rural and semi-urban areas and explaining. At the central office level, we have teamed up with Consumer Affairs, the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, and brought out advertisement in all the newspapers and media about the banking ombudsman scheme. You must have seen that orange girl where we say that, do you have any complaint against the commercial bank? It was throughout the nation. Throughout the nation, advertisement was carried out. But it is periodically we are doing it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rao. I wish you all the best in your endeavors to protect the interest of consumers. Thanks for talking to us on Beware. Thank you. Well, that was Mr. G. Jagan Mohan Rao from the RBI telling us what the Reserve Bank is doing to protect your interests. A very important point there, that you need to approach the Ombudsman. You not only can get recourse to your grievance, but many awards have been announced by the Ombudsman when it has come to notice that there was a harassment that you faced. So here's hoping to you taking up your grievances even more effectively. Thanks for watching. We'll be back next week with lots more, because we believe the truth must be told.